third initiative that we're announcing today is an initiative that's in partnership with our federal law enforcement partners. And this is the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm Trigger Lock Task Force. This, again, is a task force that is in place, and we have had a team of 2 officers assigned as federal agents with the alcohol, tobacco, firearm. We are adding 2 additional resources to this task force. Now, what's so special about this task force? There are individuals who are arrested for violent crimes, for felonies. There are individuals who are arrested for gun crimes, and the appropriate place to prosecute those cases is with the district attorney's office. There are many of those cases that are heading through the courts here in San Francisco. However, there are also individuals, and this is what the Trigger Lock program targets. It targets individuals who have a violent crime felony conviction within the last 15 years, but are arrested with a firearm. So the stakes are higher. The consequences are far greater. It also targets those who have been arrested within the last 10 years for narcotics trafficking. When they are arrested with a firearm, again, the stakes are higher. And so these cases are reviewed between the ATF agents as well as the San Francisco police inspectors, and those cases are discussed with the district attorney, and in those cases where it's appropriate, the cases are trigger locked and are prosecuted through federal laws by the United States Attorney's Office. So it's not just the consequence at the San Francisco level, which will be very serious, but also people who have gone through the system but who still are out there plaguing our communities will be prosecuted by the United States Attorney's Office at the federal level. Another initiative that you've heard us talk about is the Operation Impact Program, by which the California Highway Patrol comes into the city to work side by side with the officers of this city. The purpose of the California Highway Patrol coming in is that it augments the number of officers in our hotspot areas, and also the California Highway Patrol is very skilled in terms of certain traffic enforcement. When they make traffic stops, oftentimes they will find someone with a handgun. They will find a felon with a warrant. So it's more eyes and ears on the street in those areas where we're seeing violence in an attempt to stem the violence and prevent the violence. And I will tell you, we have had phenomenal success with the California Highway Patrol to date. Just in the last 2 months, in the months of May and June, they have been in San Francisco on 22 separate evenings between the hours of 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. And they're never in the same district. We assign them to various districts. We put out a press release so that the public and the media are aware of their presence. But when necessary, we also shift the resources if something is starting to percolate in another part of the city. So they've been very, very helpful. This has brought 290 additional law enforcement officers into our city during these 22 operations, which is equivalent to over 300 hours of enforcement time. They've made 1,000 traffic stops, and this has led to 10 felony arrests, 32 misdemeanor arrests, 76 unsafe and unlawful vehicles were taken off of our streets and impounded. 42 people were arrested for driving under the influence. There were searches that were conducted, resulting in 6 narcotics arrests, and there were 2 guns seized. 728 citations were issued, and 288 warnings were also given. So you see how valuable, just in the short time they've been here this year, and I must tell you, this is the 3rd year, or actually the 4th year, that the California Highway Patrol has been here in our community. And so we're very grateful to them and to the Commissioner of the Highway Patrol for allowing this to continue. We have a number of other operations scheduled, and we have actually requested additional operations for the summer. As with budgets, we're hopeful that the budget situation does not impact the ability of us to continue having Highway Patrol officers in our city. And the final announcement today that I have coincides with what the district attorney was speaking about in terms of our stepped-up approach when an incident of violence has occurred and a homicide has resulted. As we have today, we send our field operations officers out there, the uniformed patrol forces out there. They're gathering information, they're getting witness statements. The homicide inspectors go out. We're changing the model so that the model that's in the field will actually coincide with the roundtable and the war room concept that DA Harris spoke of. On each and every homicide, we will send the 2 assigned investigators. In addition to those 2 investigators, we will send 2 general work inspectors who are very well versed in investigations of shootings because they are the ones that handle the non-fatal shootings in most cases. And in addition to that, we will be sending teams of gang task force, narcotics, or any other specialty unit that we believe is necessary so that they're all hands on deck working directly under the direction of the homicide lead inspectors and the lieutenant of homicide. If more resources are needed, they will have the authority to make that request and have that happen. And the key to this is the faster people are out there and the more people are out there, the better the opportunity to gather a lot of statements, to gather maybe information or just a comment of people who are in the area, because it's based on that information as well as subsequent evidence and information that we receive that we then actually have a lot to discuss in the war room setting so that we can lead to more prosecutions of homicide suspects in San Francisco. So this is really a full court press to not only have the community step up to help us remove firearms from our streets, to have additional officers concentrating and focusing on removing firearms and arresting those who have those firearms on their person. But also, we know that an arrest is not the end of the process. The end of the process is the prosecution. And I'm very proud to be standing here with both our local and our federal prosecutors, because the message is very, very clear that all of us are committed to stopping this violence. We will not stop on our part. We will continue coming up with new efforts, new initiatives. But because of our commitment, we're here today saying we're very serious about this. And we all have to remember enough is enough. No more pain and suffering to families in our communities, to the law enforcement community. And we need to all work together to make sure that the guns are off of our streets. Now, we have a number of people here who can talk a little bit more about each of the initiatives that I've highlighted, but I think at this time, Director Ryan.